Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ MV, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building.
Yes, sir.
Andre Iguodala. Welcome back, sir.
It's good to be back.
Man, you should be somewhere relaxing after that long-ass season, but you out here promoting your new book. First book.
First one. Yeah.
First book.
The Six Man.
The Six Man.
Why
Okay.
a memoir? Why now, man?
I think it was just good timing, especially with the run we've been on and just really going through being we were kind of the poster child of the league as far as, people really loving us and what we did for the game, and then being on the opposite side of
And
that.
they hate y'all ass.
And then they hate you for having too much success. So just for me, it was more therapeutic where I come from. I've had a lot of interesting interactions with the media for a lot of different reasons, whether it be about, politics, race, and kind of my thinking through that, all those things, and where I've come from, and done a lot of things within the game. And I had a lot of young kids, young guys in the league ask me for advice, and it's kind of surprising. You get people that look up to you, but you're still playing, and you're still competing against them. So all those things, I feel like, it's kind of a way to give back to because it's a new age athlete coming up, especially for the black athlete. We're being exploited more than ever. NCAA, AAU, and kind of how I navigated through the whole thing. It's kind of like there's no navigational tools for guys to kind of, get to the league. They're kind of being pimped throughout the whole process from, age 11 when they're the phenom. So kind of how all my views on all that stuff. So it was a good process for me, and it's kind of, doing a book is, when it's finished, it's like winning the championship. It's like, who would have thought that you could accomplish something like this? So this was a big one for me. I've always kind of been studious, been a reader since I was a kid, so this was a big one.
Let's talk about the navigation part. You were saying, we get exploited a lot, and a lot of us have sons and daughters that want to play basketball, and it's a tough process. So what do you suggest that people do? Because the only thing we know is AAU and the high school and to the college, and it's we never get anything.
Well, I've had many conversations, and my son plays ball. It's funny, he's at Duke camp right now.
Wow.
And he grew up different than I did. He grew up different than we did. And
You grew up privileged.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he's, he doesn't understand. Like, he tear up his shoes, he just get a new pair. For me, I had a toothbrush, was cleaning my shoes. So just that hunger, trying to have him understand, like, that hunger, kids are trying to kill you. Like, they know your name. But he's just like, why should I want him to grow up like that? That's the reason why I work so hard, so he doesn't have to. And the one thing I give to the kids and the parents that grew up similar to the way we did is, you got to do it for fun. You got to do it because you love it. And I always say, these kids nowadays are living their parents' dreams.
Correct.
And that's what always derails them, or no matter where they get. Either if they don't make it, the parents derailed them, another reason why they didn't make it, or when they do make it, parents are the reason why they're having mental issues,
Problems.
or they're spending all the money, or they're going broke, or they're having all the family problems, is because, they did it for all the wrong reasons. So for me, it's like, listen, just let the kid's going to make it or not make it regardless. Like, you have nothing to do with that. Like, you can support them as a parent, and that's going to help them mentally. But, there's a lot of things that we can do differently, and exploiting the kid is the worst way that's the worst reason to get them into the sport.
It's interesting. I think you can exploit kids even when they're not playing sports. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's hard to instill that hunger in a child, because you're trying to get them to do what you want them to do as opposed to what they're really passionate about.
Right.
That natural hunger comes with what they're passionate about.
And I just read a book. It's on passion. It's called The Grit. It's a grit book. I forgot who wrote it, but it's on passion and perseverance. And most people can't find either one, or if they find one, it's very rare they find both. So it's hard for anyone to find their passion. Like, that's a huge hurdle. Just finding your passion in general is really hard to do. Like, most people don't know what their passion is. They usually do things for money. They never, like people say, if you hate your job, find your passion. But this capitalist world we live in, it's really hard for you to find your passion and then really be able to embrace it. And then the flip side, you got people who do find their passion, but they don't have that perseverance. They don't know how to work hard. Most people on earth don't know how to work hard. It's almost like, we're being coddled. You got the top 1% know how to work hard, and they exploit, everyone else being lazy. shouldn't say it like that, but it's kind of what it really is. And
it is.
It is.
Yes.
What
So
about creating our own spaces? We talk about that a lot, and I even look at colleges, and I look at, just imagine if we had one star leave a HBCU.
$40 million slaves. They spoke about that in that book. What if the Fab Five all went to a historically black university or college instead of going to Michigan? They changed the course of history. They did it with black socks and black Nikes. They could have changed the course of history. And I was just talking to one of the interns. She was talking about. I said, I wish I would have took a visit to Howard. Like, knowing what I know now, I would have took a visit to Howard. And
well, black people, we have a tendency to think white ice is colder.
Right. But that's just the way we see it. Like, we grow up, growing up, I saw Michael Jordan. The Fab Five, I was like, they were like gods to me. So it was like, you think that's the only way that you can go to make it. And David West, close teammate of mine, he's trying to change. He's one of the few that's trying to change the trajectory or the course of what we can do. He got a league where instead of going to college through the NCAA, you can go through this league where they give you financial services as far as financial education. You can actually make money off your likeness. It's just a different avenue.
So they give you a percentage off your jersey and
right,
things like that, right?
Right. But they're teaching you all these tools as well, because that's one thing I talk about in the book is, we all were exploited in the NCAA, especially if you went to a big school. I went to the University of Arizona, and I remember seeing the report, the largest schools in terms of revenue, basketball teams brought to the school. We were number 2. And the reason why the athletic department ran was because of the basketball team. And then it was funny, I would go to practice, and the volleyball coach would be like, Coach, you guys got carte blanche on practice time. I know who pays the bills around here. But I would go a week when I had like $10 and I had to make $10 last food for that week. It was like.
And you an athlete.
My jersey was in the store. Like number 24 was in the store.
I would think they would feed y'all just to keep y'all healthy.
Well, they changed the rules now.
Okay.
Where they get unlimited food. But when I was there, you only got food on game days, or you got food sometimes at the practice or whatever. But other than that, you was on. But you got the head of the NCAA. You can look up his salary right now. He's a millionaire. So it's just a system and how it's been so far.
Sidebar, where is David West? I literally thought about David West this morning because I thought about you coming, and then I was just thinking about what happened in the finals and how shorthanded y'all were.
Right.
I'm like, where the hell was David West?
Right.
Who did he play for now?
Yeah, he retired.
He retired. Okay, I see. I didn't know.
He retired.
Yeah.
He retired.
When, last year?
He retired last year.
All right.
Yeah. He's in Carolina and the Bay, back and forth. He's doing some big things in Africa. He's doing a lot of things under the radar, and he's doing it in a way where it might scare some people. So he's always in the back.
Yeah.
He don't want to be at the forefront of anything. He's kind of doing it under the radar. But he was a huge inspiration as far as opening my eyes to a lot of things on race and athletics and how we're being exploited and how we kind of have to take it back.
Yeah, in the book you talk about the racial tension that exists in the NBA. I would never think that there's any racial tension in the NBA. Like, where does the majority of that tension come from?
Well, I think that the NBA is very forward-thinking. Every year is ranked the most tech-forward sports league in the world. And then the NBA is one of a marketing powerhouse. They always know how to market the right things. And if there are any issues or there might be a controversy, they're really good at trying to stay ahead of it and not cover it up, because I think not David Stern, but Adam Silver does a good job of trying to have the dialogue with the players. I could text him right now, he'll text me back, but it's still the places we come from are a lot different than our arena fan base. And you can go look at the Golden State Warriors. When I first got there, we were kind of up and coming. And I always say we priced our real fans out, but now you look at it, who's our fan base is Silicon Valley, which is the richest community in the world, and you saw it in the finals. Kyrie Irving,
Kevin Durant,
the point guard for the
Kyle Lowry.
Kyle Lowry goes into the stands.
And the guy, it pushes him, The
guy grabs him, and you read his lips. Get out of here, you fucker! Like punches him, and then. I don't see what happened with Kyle, because I know Kyle from when I was in Philly, and he was at Villanova, and he's going crazy.
So that's what you mean when you say racial tension?
You just like
he just felt privileged, like he could just do it.
Like the dude was worth $2.4 billion.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if the guy looked at Kyle was a different color, he wouldn't. Like you can kind of tell it was he wasn't in his right state, but at the same time, that's him reacting naturally. Like that was kind of crazy.
It was whack that he was only banned for a year or two now.
Well, it's
That'd
more.
have been
It's
anybody
more.
else?
It's more to it. It's not just banned for a year. From what I heard, it's more consequences. Like as far as his interest that he vested in the team, like that's gonna be gone too.
It's just whack that you sit courtside at a game.
Mm-hmm.
You should expect that to happen. Like you never been like you don't understand NBA action.
Right.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, it wasn't even next to him.
Mm-hmm.
Like
2 seats down.
It was him, his wife, and another dude. He fell over here and he reached across, and that's interesting too. But at the same time, it's a lot of media that's been involved in our game. Like we get the most attention, the most eyes are on us because we're the most relatable because we don't have helmets on or our faces are always shown. We're the most visible athletes in the world. We're tall, but these crazy valuations, the price of a ticket to the games are crazy. The average price of a finals game in Toronto was like $5,000.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. So who's able to come to the games?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So it's you got all of these kids, especially probably in the hood, who really love basketball, who can't even come watch their favorite team or players play.
Now, I wouldn't say that's a racial tension, but that's who we're performing in front of. So there could be sometimes there's a little bit of a disconnect between the in-arena fan base and the players because we've outpriced a lot of the genuine like basketball community.
The average family.
It's gentrification in a way.
Yeah, the average family.
Right. But at the same time, there's two sides to the gift and the curse. Our salaries are the reason why we can make so much money is because ticket sales, the people that spend money on the crazy suites. Like we have a new arena going up, and they've sold already $2 billion in ticket sales for that crazy arena. The arena's not even open yet.
People are saying that the Warriors are over, that the dynasty is over.
Nobody said that but Drake.
Right.
What do you think? Got 2 men down maybe next year.
Clay will be back soon. KD will be back to form.
If he signs.
But he'll be back to form.
Okay.
So, I would consider, K a brother, no matter what he does. You know what I mean? So I just want him to be happy for someone to be that talented. You talking about top 5, top 10 of all time. I just want to see him come back and play ball. And with technology, he'll be fine. But hopefully he'll be back. He might be out all next year. But you saw what we did in the finals. We was right there. And we were, really, we had 3 guys break something. Kevon Looney broke, his collarbone. Clay, ACL, KD, his Achilles. So, and we still had an opportunity. We were 1 possession away from pushing it to Game 7. So, we'll be fine. Big free agency this summer, so we'll be all right.
Did the Warriors organization take any blame for what happened to KD? Or should they? Because you talk in the book about, sacrificing your body for these organizations.
So that's a really good question. I don't think his injury was the reason before the other injury because the way the body set up, the calf should have went out first before the Achilles. So that was like an active guy. Like the Achilles was just going to go out no matter if he was injured before that or not. But I talk about in the book, what's your body worth? All I hear is play 1 year longer than you can. Like that's what I hear from all my old vets. Like, I talk to, Dale Curry or Grant Hill or Antonio Davis, Ron Artest, and it's like, man, play till you can't play no more. You got to keep getting them checks. You got to keep getting them checks. But at the same time, it's like, I want to have a certain lifestyle when I'm done playing. Them knees go quick.
Word up.
You see some older guys walking around, limping around. It's like Kyrie, as people say, he says some crazy things. Kyrie's like, when I'm 32, 33, I'm retiring, man. Like I just want to be in the right mental space. And these last 5 years have taken it's taken like a toll on my mind. From being in the finals, hearing crazy questions. They try to build this rivalry with LeBron. Like you're supposed to hate LeBron. Anything LeBron do, you're supposed to hate that. I'm like, no, that's like my brother too. Even though I've gone up against him 5 times in the finals, like whenever he has success, I'm like, yo, this is dope. Like he's doing something that no athlete's ever done. Like I embrace that, and they're like, how can you? And then you got somebody like Charles Barkley, who I love, and be like, how are these guys gonna be friends? It's like they try to build this.
They try to do that in every form of business like that. Same thing with us and the other stations. Try to
right,
make it,
but I feel like they do it more to.
Station, right?
They feel like I feel like they do it more to us than anybody else. And then you look at Facebook, and they're talking. Look at their board. It's like they're about to build this new cryptocurrency, and they're asking for $10 million from 100 different vendors. And it's like they're all coming together to take over the world. But with us, it's like, no, let's keep them separate. Let's keep them separate. And I got a tech summit coming next Thursday, and we got over 300 companies and athletes, football, basketball. We got women sports in there, WNBA, lacrosse. Dude that started his own lacrosse league. So, like, that's what I'm trying to do is bring the athletes together. And nobody's bridged tech and sports together. So that's something I'm trying to do in that space as well, especially being in Silicon Valley. But they always try to keep us separate. And from whenever you talk about collective bargaining agreements and you do lockouts, the one issue you have every time is, well, we know we can keep the players separate. You got a few people like, all right, we know we can get this player on our side. You get one or two star players on the ownership side, and they come in at our group meetings and be like, well, guys, we don't want to miss out on no money. And it's like, no, it's actually a lot of power in sitting down and taking a stance,
right?
Even if you got to take a hit. That's the same thing. We go back to you get one class of black athletes to go to historically black colleges and universities. You take one class. You just sacrifice one class. It's got to be a sacrifice. But somebody got to do it, and that'll change the course of history.
So you don't think the Warriors had any responsibility with maybe pushing KD out there too soon?
Well, that's a tough part too. You think about it. We have a really good training staff. I'll give credit where credit's due. Our training staff is one of the best in the world, and I feel like they got them back. The tough thing is when you're an athlete and you're hurt, everybody's looking at you sideways. And then being his teammate is harder because everyone's feeding stuff in our head when KD coming back,
And the fact that it's the finals.
That's what I'm saying. Last year happened to me. I missed the last 3 games of the Houston series. It goes to Game 7. We barely get out of that series. And now they're looking at me like, when you coming back? And I had a fractured leg. But it's being put out there like he got a bone bruise. I'm like, no, it's fractured. But so I'm fighting with the team. I'm fighting with people. I'm fighting with the media. And then my teammates ask me every day, how you feeling? How you feeling? So with K, he getting it from everywhere too. Like, how you feeling? How you feeling? Not just from, the team, but from family or from, people close to him. This is our moment. This is our stage.
Right.
This don't last forever. And what did they always say in sports? Oh, he was a tough guy. He played through injuries. You're validated as an athlete if you win a championship or how tough you were. If you sit out, it's like, he's not tough. Like, you think about it, the history of sports is all about people's perception of you, and they want to get their gratification through you for themselves, and that's just the way of sports.
It's kind of your fault a little bit too, though.
It's true.
A little bit.
I agree, but at the same time, we're taught to maximize our value, and you get people giving you. Well, it used to be, how many games can a guy play? He played 82 games. That means he's tough. If a guy only plays 70 games, 60 games, it's like, I don't know about him, man. He can't. He's always hurt, And then now, when a superstar player goes down, what's that? That's money. A guy like KD goes down, that's a lot of money that's not out there. Now everyone's talking about, oh man, I guess it was smart to have load management. But the issue is, the NBA sets our schedule up, especially the Warriors, where they don't want us to miss games on the road because we're the money team on the road.
Correct.
So, the message was sent, all right, don't rest guys on the road.
Yeah, but you know what? Sometimes I got to be whack. And I'm not, it's still an NBA, but sometimes you're playing trash-ass teams. You know you're going to blow them out. So there's no way you could just say, you know what, I'm just going to rest these star players today because we don't necessarily need them.
Well, now you got feedback from fans, right? Like, you can get feedback from fans. Fans are able to express themselves more than ever.
Because of social media.
Right. So we used to get so many emails, so much information from our fans, and be like, we used to have people with signs like, I drove from South Africa. And Steph Curry didn't play tonight.
Right.
And I paid $10,000 for some seats. Like, this isn't right. It's like if you got.
I do understand that side, though.
Right. So I'm saying, if you got a company and you have these high expectations and they don't come through, you can voice your opinion. So we've gotten that more than any other team because we've been the team for the last 5 years. We've been the moneymaker. So I've seen it. That's why I'm saying, that's what I'll talk about in the book. I've seen it from every which way, being on the bad team to being on the great team.
Right.
And they got to get the most out of us because we are the team.
I'm not mad because y'all come to New York and y'all play the Knicks. I'm not mad if Steph Curry and them don't play because.
Oh, that's because the Knicks are trash.
The Knicks
so I can
was
totally
the last place team
understand.
last year. So I get it.
You have
but,
nothing else to watch.
But for somebody else, like you said, you paid all this money for your seats.
Right.
And you waiting, you got your son his birthday present. He comes out and it's like, there's no Steph. I get that side
I've seen
too.
that before where a parent was like, yo, Andre, me and my son came to see you. You got on the suit, man. Why you not playing? Man, I'm hurt, man. Like, if I play tonight, I probably ain't going to be playing in May, which is more important for our team. But I understand where they're coming from.
Right.
They put out the money.
But the interesting thing about that is they love you, but then they hate you. Like you talk about in the book how you was one of the most hated athletes in Philadelphia. I never knew that.
Yeah, I'm saying that.
So fans are fickle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then you can't express that. You express that. You go back to Philly, you walking down the street.
Somebody throw something at you.
Somebody really throw something at you. Like I've had that happen many a times.
Philly fans is the worst.
Philly
I always
worst.
say that. I don't
Absolutely.
play with Philly fans.
So, but I talk about in the book how I've learned to embrace that. Like Philly taught me so much. Like when AI left, like he was my big brother, and he would protect me from all that. But when he left, it was on me, and now I understood what he used to be talking about. He was like, man, these people. Like people don't love you. They love you when you're doing well, and they feel like they feel better about themselves when you do something good for them, for the team, when you're winning. But when things aren't going the way they see fit, they turn on you quick. He protected me from it, but when he left, it was like, whoa, I had to grow up really fast, and then that opened my eyes up, and I started seeing things from a different view. Like I'm not just an athlete. That's why I felt so accomplished doing the book. There was like something different.
Well, they hated AI too. I think corporate hated AI. The streets loved them.
The streets loved him.
The streets loved AI.
But he would always, he was explaining to me, but he wouldn't. He would like, man, just be careful, man. You got to watch out, man. Like he would always say, don't read the newspaper, man. They turn on you anytime. And you talk like that practice incident that still lives to this day. Like he's broken it down many times of what occurred around that. And he had like someone close to him die.
Right.
And they just kept baiting him on something like silly. He was like, man, what am I here for? Like, and then his mind's not even really there. He's like, man, I'm not even really here. My best friend just died like yesterday. But it seems like, especially with social media, it's all about hits.
That clip.
So, with our team, I've seen a guy will give an interview and people will just take that part of the interview. They weren't even present and they'll just post it where they want. Kevin Durant said this. Andre Iguodala said this. Stephen Curry said this. It's like, yo, I didn't even say that. Like, you weren't even there. But like, that's becoming a new, it's like the NBA is doing a really good job of marketing, but it's also like a reality show at the same time where there's always some drama.
You said people hate on Steph so much. Why
Yes.
do you think they hate on Steph so much?
Because he's light skinned.
He's light skinned and he's like the perfect dude. So they can't find any flaws. You see that a lot. People who you can't find a flaw in, you hate that. And I go back to Paul Mooney. Y'all watch the Dave Chappelle show. And Paul Mooney was like, white folks don't want black people to win too much. They want you to win a little bit. You start winning too much, they start waking up like, no, you doing too good. And that was always funny to me. And it's funny because it's almost like it's hard to say that. Like I'm not allowed to express that.
Why not?
Because what do I hear? Man, you make all this money, you make millions of dollars. Why should you be so upset? But they don't understand like
How many people would want to keep you right there? Be the athlete that shoots, makes the money, and does nothing else.
and just be
And
quiet.
when your career's over, you better have held on to your money because we're not going to allow you to do anything else in this world.
But Jalen Rose just always said, he was like, it was two types of black guys. It was one from where he came from, and then it was like, he would say, like the Uncle Tom. And then Uncle Tom's always got the upper hand. So what you're taught as far as, when you come into rookie transition program is network, learn to speak the part, learn to play the part. It's like, no, what if that's not you? You know what I'm saying? So it's all about like the book is a lot about that balance on both sides. Because I grew up on both sides. Like I grew up in the right by the projects. Like my best friend from the projects is right outside right now. And but I was in class, like when I went to school, I was smart. I went to school, I was the only black kid in my class all the time. But then when I walked out the classroom, I was hanging with the black kids. But when I would be in class with the white kids, they would be like, how do you know that person? Like, they got arrested last week. I'm like, he lived right around the corner from me. So I lived in both sides throughout my whole life, and it was always that balance of like, being, and my basketball friends would be like, man, how the hell you get so smart? Like I don't know. My mom was 6 feet tall, and she could fight.
Why was
You know what's interesting? You talk about Steph, right? I was rooting for Steph. When you talk about protecting his legacy, I was rooting for him in the finals. And I don't root for light-skinned guys too often. But I was rooting for him this year.
That is a fact.
Because I wanted him to win his 4th ring, and I wanted him to win finals MVP. Because I think it's disrespectful that he's never mentioned in the best players in the world conversation.
Right. So that was another thing, too. Like, people are like, why do you think people hate on Steph? Well, us, that's all we hear. You know what I'm saying? We always hear the negative parts. And it's easy to say stay away from it, but if it's always thrown at you. And I always hear people say, well, Steph, are you really focused on these finals to win a finals MVP because you haven't won it? She'd be like, what? Like, are you serious? Like, he's one of the best ever. And then I was just on ESPN arguing with Max Kellerman, and he was like, I tell people all the time, you're a more clutch player than Steph Curry.
Jesus Christ.
I'm like, yo, you crazy? Like, are you crazy? He was like, no, Steph doesn't perform when it matters most. I'm like, yo, the dude got 3 rings
all the time, right?
He was a unanimous MVP, 2-time MVP. Like,
and we act like he didn't do that before KD got there.
Right.
Y'all won 73 games before KD got there. The Warriors won a ring before KD got there. Like, it's I don't get it. I don't understand what
I think
people
it goes back to when you have so much success, people are looking for ways to kind of break it up. But I see it the most. The hate on Steph is across the league, other players.
Really?
It's crazy. Not so much the younger players, but some of the older players that he came in and just took their shine. Oh, they hate it. They can't take it.
How much impact does social media have on players? You talk about that in the book, but how much does it really have on players?
More than it should. Like, it's normal now to go in the locker room and everybody, first thing they do, people grab their phones.
Lord have mercy.
And I'd be like, oh, my God.
Like at halftime?
At halftime.
Really?
It's like normal now.
Well, you seen dude that brought his phone out to the game.
Right. Well, that's normal. Grab your phone, and I'm looking, dudes checking Instagram.
See what people saying about their performance. That's crazy.
Checking the halftime stats. But, I mean, you kind of taught that. Like, if you're a player where you're, like, on the borderline of superstar, and it's like, all right, I got to average 20, I got to average 25. Your agent telling you that before every game. Look, man, we got to get 20, 22 tonight. Your average. I remember one time with the last game of the season, I averaged like 19.9 points a game. 19.9. My agent was like, yo, you got to get 36 tonight to get to 20. We get to 20, I can get us extra $5 million.
Wow.
So what was I trying to do?
You out there trying to get that 36.
I was trying to get 36.
Did you get it?
No, I ain't get it. I had like 24, 25. And I'm like, oh, shit. I'm like, damn, I missed it. But at the same time, I'm like, yo, like, I wasn't even thinking about winning.
That shouldn't be part of it.
But that's everywhere. You know, you get incentives to get rebounds, to get steals, to get wins. Like, that's just sports in general. You know, like, how many catches you get in a season, how many yards you get in a season. Like, you got to maximize yourself. And then everybody around you, they want to see you do what's best. And I think that's what's made the Warriors so great these last 5-6 years is that it ain't been about that. You know, we got, like, Draymond and myself who we don't care about scoring. We just going to do the little things right. But we got some killers who can score it at will. We compliment them, and then they compliment us. It's just been a great match.
Whatever happened with Mark Jackson? You played under Mark Jackson for a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, whatever happened to Mark? Because he put that team together, it seems like, and then nobody ever gave him a chance again, which seems weird.
We were just talking about that this morning, and I just talked about it earlier about playing a part. But if that's not who you really are, you can't play the part, or you can't play the politics game. And I think it was a lot of that. Like, we were huge fans of Mark, the players. He was the ultimate players coach.
That was, I mean, he pretty much put that team together. Like, that's when we first started hearing about the Warriors. And then it was like he got let go, and then no other team gave him a shot.
And I talk about it in the book as far as he was like one of my favorite coaches of all time. It was like, come in, compete, play hard. And then he was going to put you in the best position to get the most money. Like, it was players who got paid because of him that shouldn't have got paid. He was like, look, man, if you just do this, you're going to get paid. And I'm going to send you out there to do it. That's all I want you to do is do this. Just go get paid. And then he said it. Yeah, I remember he said Steph and Clay were going to be the best backcourt ever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They said he was crazy.
They did. Mm-hmm.
This was 7 years ago. And that joint, like, it came to fruition. But I feel like that's the politics of it, man. And
when you say politics, what do you mean? I know they used to be upset because he was too religious, they said.
Did he make y'all go to church? That was a rumor that he made y'all go to church.
No, he didn't make us go to church. Like, he offered it to us, and we all went as a team because we got a team bunch of believers. So we went to church. Like, we was going to church regardless. Mm-hmm. But it was the politics, And then you know how it is once they want you out, they gonna find something. So he had church in the facility like on Wednesday. Sometimes he would stream his church service from the facility.
During practice?
No. Like at night, like Wednesday night service. He'll just set up a computer in the facility, and he'll just preach, and then his congregation could stream it from at home or from the church.
So if y'all was on the road, he was preaching from wherever he was.
Well, on the road, I don't know. I know at home he did. It'd be like at 7:00 at night, so nobody was in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then one particular issue was, from what I heard, was his views on gender or marriage or what the Bible said on your sexuality. Okay. And our head of our business, who he just went in the Hall of Fame, he was he was the brains behind All-Star Weekend. Like this dude, he created the All-Star Weekend. Rick Welch, like genius business. And he celebrated as one of the top execs in sports on the business side, and he's gay. So there was conflicts with that was, widespread. Everyone was talking about that, and it's interesting. Someone mentioned it to me. He was like, when people can express themselves, but are you allowed to express yourself that you don't agree with it? You should accept it because we should all accept each other, but it's like we're afraid to really say our beliefs. Now, like you may not believe in something, but you still embrace that, or you have respect for them, or it's as long as you don't disrespect them or judge them.
Correct.
And
I kind of miss those days. I kind of miss the days when everybody was lying to each other, meaning like everybody was keeping their shit to themselves. Whatever your religion was,
right.
What your politics were, what your sexuality was, it made the world a lot less complicated.
Well, it's hard to. You can't say that either, because now you're saying you don't accept something, or
No, I'm not saying I don't accept it. I'm just saying that it made the world a lot less complicated when you just didn't know what everybody was into. Because a lot of that shit don't matter. That shouldn't matter if Mark Jackson is the head coach of a basketball team.
It shouldn't matter, right. But some people are saying you don't accept me for who I really am, so I have to express who I am so you know it and you understand it. Therefore, you can accept it or you can understand it better. But, I mean, that's just the way of the world, man. It's not as we get more and more complicated. I do agree with that. But it was that, and on top of, he might have issues with ownership. That was a crazy part. Like, he didn't have a good relationship with the ownership, and
that's not gonna work.
That ain't gonna never work.
But no other team picked him up. Think about it. Not one other team.
Well, it just shows how in line the ownership group is within NBA. When they go into a collective bargaining agreement meeting, or we're coming to the closing to the end of our contract, and we're looking at a lockout, or we don't want to lock out, they all together. Like, it ain't no more, it's no more, my team beat your team. They don't care about that. They care about one thing.
Money.
That bottom line. And a coach explained that to me best. Like, this is one of my favorite coaches. I won't say it because he's looking for a job right now, assistant coach. And he's like my favorites. He was like, when you play sports, they put this big shiny thing in front of you. It was like, if you don't get this, your career is never validated. You talk about Karl Malone, you talk about Charles Barkley,
Allen Iverson,
Patrick Ewing. You talk about all those guys. What people say all the time. I was like, yo, he's one of the best centers ever. Like, Patrick Ewing underrated. Like, he was so good. People were like, he never won a ring. Like, what that got to do with how great of a player he was? It just wasn't in his cards. But and now as a player, what you trying to do? You killing yourself for this trophy. Like, you killing yourself for this trophy. Like, playing hurt, KD coming back, you killing yourself for this trophy. And he was like, man, that's how they get competition to be great. They market all this stuff. The content you build off of a guy killing himself, like, that's all money. And he's like, end of the day, like, ownership cares about one thing, and that's the bottom line. And then it's tough. You got to find the right balance, because you're supposed to love the sport, and you should play to win. So there are sacrifices that come in that. But that's the hard part for me, is just balancing the two, like knowing what it's all about as far as money. But at the same time, it's like you put yourself in a position to take care of your family for generations, and you want to use your talent. The talent that God gave you, you want to maximize it. So just finding the right balance and having the mental wherewithal to balance all that and to get through all the noise, to be at one with yourself when it's all said and done. And it sounds easy, but it's really hard. That's why you see so many mental issues.
I want to talk to you about mental health, but I want to ask you one quick question. You think Mark Jackson is blackballed from the NBA?
I do, yes.
Really?
Yes.
Absolutely. I
wow.
think so too.
Yeah. Now, Mental health. How do you stay mentally healthy? Because you talk about your battles with insomnia in the book. And I know you're the vice president of the National Basketball Players Association now. And y'all put an emphasis on mental health. So how y'all going to keep players mentally healthy, and how do you keep yourself mentally healthy?
So for me, it's just I read a lot. I want to tell you, Steph's a big fan of the book. He listened to your audio book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's a huge fan of it, which is weird. I didn't think he would. But anyway.
Why? Because I'm such a heathen?
Y'all so different.
Yeah.
Because he don't like light-skinned brothers.
Yeah, y'all just so different. I was like, Steph, you listen to that? He was like, yeah, man, that joint was amazing. And you read it, right? You read your audio book?
I read both of them, yeah.
Yeah, he was talking about that. He was like, it's better to read your audio book. You get it's better for the story. I didn't get a chance to. I did the introduction of my audio book, but I didn't get a chance to read. We didn't have time with the finals.
And you can get nominated for a Grammy.
Oh, interesting.
If you care about that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But with the mental health, this for me, it was reading. So I had an insomnia problem through college just from stress. Like I had agents, I talk about in the book, I had agent telling me, like agent saw me after the game and was like, I want to talk to you. I'm like, for what? He was like, I want to represent you. I'm like, for what? He was like, the NBA. I'm like, I'm going to the NBA? Like, I didn't know because I was in college. What I'm hearing every day is you got to get better. You're not good enough yet. You got to get better. Mm-hmm. And what I found out was the coach was trying to hold me back mentally so I can stay longer. Mm-hmm. I stay longer, we obviously going to be a much better team. You got NBA players playing on your team. You're going to be better. But I didn't know that. So then I was fighting between, I'm like, people approaching me about the NBA. Like, I never thought I would go to the NBA, especially this fast. So I wasn't sleeping like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm just up.
Was it anxiety? You said it was insomnia in the book, but it had to be some sort of anxiety as well.
It's both, right? Yeah. But you don't know that. You just know you up. Yeah. Like, I can't sleep. But that stuck with me until my whole career. Like, it stuck with me until I got to the Bay. And I finally was like, you know what? I know I got this issue, and that's a big problem in our community. We scared to talk to somebody about anything. So I saw a sleep therapist, and I basically did a study on the human body and how you need sleep. Sleep is like the most important thing.
Of course.
For the body.
Absolutely.
But we don't know that. Like,
that's because we grew up in hip-hop where they say sleep is the cousin of death.
Right. So Puff Daddy
don't sleep.
Puff Daddy or P. Diddy or Diddy.
Puffy.
Mr. Can't Stop, Won't Stop.
Well, his whole thing was like, while y'all sleeping, I'm eating.
Yeah.
And even when he was doing the marathon and you watched all that, like he wasn't sleeping through that whole stuff. He was like, I can't sleep because I got to eat. Because if I'm asleep, y'all catching up to me. And that's what we think. You know what I'm saying? And that was a huge part of it. And I was like, man. So I started tracking my sleep. It actually changed my diet. Like I went vegan for like a whole 2 years, year and a half, 2 years, like real vegan.
How did Aisha Curry feel about that when she used to make dishes and bring them and they weren't vegan?
You know what? Like nobody knew that for a hot second.
Okay.
And then when she found out, she was like, wow, that's amazing. Like Aisha, my peoples. So like that me finding out that I had insomnia changed like my whole life as far as lifestyle and eating and all that stuff. And then that turned into yoga. Mm-hmm. So I started doing yoga, and a large part of yoga is meditation. And then from there, I started meditating. And like once you find one thing, it kind of is a trickle down effect where you get everything else is aligned. Mm-hmm. So with our players, like Headspace is the app, it's the meditation app. Like it's a free service for the every player in the league.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it is. It's a free service for every player in the league. And
so they give you all the box, the Headspace?
No, the Headspace you can just get the app.
Oh, okay. Maybe I got something else in it.
Yeah, we just get the app, and then you hit the app. It'll just baby steps. Mm-hmm. It'll walk you through the whole thing. But the hardest part is getting guys to embrace it or to even do it. Like we did a team exercise where we did yoga, and the players, when they first got there, they're like, man, I'm not doing no yoga. This is stupid. But when they start doing it, they're like, yo, that was like relieving. Like that was dope. But then you just got to hold yourself accountable and like want to do it. So for us, I think we do things, we got to find a way to make things cool in order for us to do it. Mm-hmm. So, we working on it. And that's another thing I struggle with is sometimes like a corporation they'll have a philanthropic endeavor, but it's not true. It's all for publicity. So I'm a big fan of Adam Silver as our commissioner, and we always talk about mental health, but it's like I don't want to just talk about it. Like I really want to tackle it and get every player to get some type of help any type of way, because we all need it, especially the ones that come from our backgrounds. And, guys lose all their money, it's not because they made poor decisions. It was just the people around them, and the mental health plays a large part in them losing all their money. Like,
I think that's not knowing as well, too, you know?
Yeah.
I always say that, coming from a lot of our environments, we just don't learn certain things.
Right.
Our parents work 30, 40 years of their life, and they sit back and retire. They don't know about investing. They don't know about anything, So For us, it's just we don't have the knowledge a lot of times.
And we're afraid to admit what we don't know.
Which is so stupid.
We don't want to look stupid, so it's like.
And we think we're going to get taken advantage of if we admit we don't know.
That's true.
Right. So we won't ask the question like, I don't know what that means. So we just sit back and just don't say nothing and just let it all crumble.
You know the crazy part about it though is the more we talk about it, is always better. I do a lot with real estate, and I get so many players that DM me and hit me and asking how, show them how, because they honestly have no clue. And it's a lot of times it's surprising because it's veterans.
Right.
And it's like, wow. But it makes you also feel good because it's like now you're helping them out and not asking for anything for it,
It's still things that I don't know, and I feel like I'm on top of it just as much as anybody. Like I study this stuff and it's like, yo, guys ask me stuff. I'm like, yo, like just read as much as you can. I'll send you everything that I'm reading. I'm like, I don't have all the answers. I'm still learning, but don't be afraid to ask the right questions. But it's tough too because as much time you spend in the court, you got to spend the same amount of time, especially protecting your money. So
absolutely,
just read and ask questions.
You know what's so interesting about the mental health aspect of it, right? Because the reason I meditate is because I'm always looking for stillness. I feel like NBA players would be the best at that because y'all got to block out all the bullshit when y'all on the court. Y'all got to block out the crowd. When y'all shooting free throws, y'all got to block out the crowd. Like y'all just got to be focused in that moment. I would think it would be easy for y'all to get focused in meditation.
Or the opposite, where our only piece is when we're on the court.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's the only piece you get. Like the family is a tricky thing, man. Like that's the majority of the downfalls.
Especially when you got money. When you're the only person in your family that's a millionaire.
Right. And talking to the white players, like I think Kyle Cover had a big article about it, and he was like, like you guys don't understand what these guys are going through. We were teammates. I remember he and I were in a meeting. We were talking about finances, like one of those mandatory meetings, and I was like, I take care of my mom, my brother, cousin, uncle, grandma. I bought my grandma a house. Blah blah blah. He was like, you pay your parents' bills? Why would you do that?
Really?
Because that's not
the same, right?
That's not their culture. So he was like, why would you pay your mom's bill? And I was like, you don't pay. He was like, no, why would I do that? Like he was like, what do you mean? Like he was so lost to it. But we looking at him like, you don't help your mom out? But that's just not how they're raised. So, so when we on the court, that's a lot of guys' peace. Like you can tell like, oh man, he is locked in because like he's at peace. Because when the game's over, he got to go back to the madness, and then he got to navigate through all the madness. There's no other time for him to be at peace or be still, except when he's on the court.
How did Steph deal with the Aisha Curry stuff? Because that came out during the finals. About I guess she did the Red Table Talk interview, and she was saying she wants to feel special, and everybody was hey big head, and they was posting pictures of Drake and her and Harden and her and big. How did he deal with that?
I honestly don't know how he deals with it. Like he's one of those dudes where I don't see too many things like rattle him. Like I never see him get outside himself. Like he don't curse. Well, I shouldn't say he don't curse. He does, but like this is like the epitome of a perfect person. But it's natural. Like he ain't trying to put on the front. So that's why I was saying like, man, I try to protect dude. Like we be out in public. Somebody asks for an autograph. I'm like, no, move. I'm like, come on, Andre. Why you got, man? Don't go nowhere near Steph, because this dude is just a natural, like just a great dude. So I've never seen too many things kind of throw him off. But he grew up in the NBA too. He grew up in that environment, so he's seen it before. Like he understands it. Like his mom's like a public figure as well. His mom and his dad were together. They were kind of known as like the perfect couple or whatever. So he's seen everything. So I feel like he knows how to navigate it. I mean, obviously, he's like any other married couple. They probably go through their stuff or whatever.
Absolutely.
But I don't know how he does it, to be honest with you, especially all that fame he got.
Yeah, he's got to be dealing with his own mental health issues. Because my last book is all about anxiety and going to therapy. So why it had to be something that made him listen to that.
Yeah. But I just think like he does a good job of handling it and not letting it get the best of him in times where it could. I know he's a big golfer. That's therapeutic. Like we play golf all the time. And we always talk about like, man, that was just incredible 4 hours. I was just able to get away. Like you don't have your phone. So he uses golf. I don't know. I'm going to ask him one day. Like, I don't know how he does it.
Right. And also ask him to tell him don't be afraid to post my book. You know what I'm saying?
Shut up,
tell him
man.
God will really bless him for that. Okay. Now, I was looking at this quote on my phone. I was going to tell you, saying no is a radical act of self-care that can positively impact our mental health. My man Julius Boatwright said that. And in regards to you talking about how we always got to kick out our money to our family and stuff, because I had to learn how to say no too. Like no, just no.
For me, it wasn't as hard. And my mom was such a huge figure in my life. Like she's 6 feet tall, and she could fight. Like I was frightened of her until I was like 19 years old. So, and she's very smart, very bright. So she kept a lot of riffraff out, and she always taught me. You know, like I saw her balancing her checkbook, like little things like that. Like she made us read books as kids. So I had a really good, solid foundation. So it was never really hard for me to say no. But at the same time, it was like my wife always says my weakness is I'm a loving person. Like I really care about my friends. Like I got a friend that got a business venture. I'm like, the most I do is make him write a business report. Like write me your business model. What you trying to do? All right, I'll help you out. She'd be like, you know he lazy. You know he ain't gonna go through or whatever. So
you do that out of guilt.
But you do it out of guilt too.
You do it out of guilt because you're balling. You know you got it. You want your friends to have it too.
And they look at your checks. Like anybody can see our salaries. They're like, yo, you made $185 million off of your career. You got $100 million. Like you can give me $50,000. And then just our community is like,
and you feel bad, and you're like, all right, man.
But they don't know that half of that goes to taxes.
No one knows
10%
that.
goes to the manager. Another 10% to lawyers.
Right.
You got your own bills. You got your own things you want to do.
And you got to make it last the rest of your life.
Yes.
Rest of your life.
They don't get that. So, but that's just like, we got to continue to have these conversations in order for us to tackle that issue. That's a big issue.
Now, how many people did your mama beat up in your lifetime that
you said it 3 times
that she can fight?
Well, it's in the book.
Yeah,
I know your grandmother put hands on you.
Yeah, my grandmother was a beast.
When you was jumping on that damn mattress and she wanted you to be playing basketball.
Right. Well, my mom, my friend texted me yesterday, Mustafa. He was like, yo, man, you put in the book your mom whooped the lady? I said, fam, that was the craziest thing. One of the craziest things I ever
So what happened now?
So my mom was in a relationship or whatever, and some lady was following her around, and all I know is I'm at the Boys and Girls Club. My brother's playing a basketball game, and some kid runs up to me and was like, yo, your mom just beat this lady up really bad. I'm like, what? He was like, yo, man, she almost killed this woman. So I go around the front, and this lady's like, hair is all torn out of her hair. The police is there. The cops is there. And my mom's just like, man, she been trying to get me for the last. My mom's like cool, smoking a cigarette. Like, man, she been following me around for like the last couple of weeks, man. Like, I just opened the door and boom, I just hit her. And like, it was like the Boys and Girls Club, it's all kids. Man, they said she almost killed this lady.
Did she get arrested?
No, she didn't get, the lady was hiding behind like a door trying to sneak her. And then, I saw my mom whoop my brother. Not whoop him. She might go to jail if I tell that story.
No. Statute of limitations over.
My brother was 6'4", like 210. Like he a football player. My brother could have played in the league, but he was better at football. And he was like, he was diesel strong in high school. And he got the popping off at the mouth. And I'm sitting watching TV in my room. I just seen this big black dude. My door was closed. This big black dude just bust through the door. Boom. I had hit my growth sport year, so I was like 5'8". I'm still short. My brother's 6'4".
5'8" is tall to a lot of people. Ask Charlamagne, but go ahead.
Right, but I'm skinny. I'm a little kid.
No, you're not.
I was like 13, 12, and I just seen this big black dude come through the door. Boom. And he against the wall, and she it was like the Matrix, how fast her hands was hitting him. And all I just seen was his chest going, boom. Man, this dude was crying so bad, man, she almost killed him.
Goodness gracious.
And I was like, man, she cold. But she wasn't like a big whooper. Like she probably whooped me 3 or 4 times. I was sneaky and I was a baby, so she never really got me. But whatever she said, like that went. Like we were cleaning the house twice a week. Like we had to wash walls, mow the lawn. Like we had to do all the little stuff, like wash dishes every day.
Wash the walls?
So we used to play basketball on the walls. You play basketball. We used to always like tap the walls.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Makeshift hoops, playing basketball. So handprints was always on the top of the walls. Man, like we was on our knees washing walls.
Charlamagne didn't never had that problem. Too short to touch the top of the wall.
I had a 72-inch vertical growing up.
Yo, shut up. No, you didn't, man.
72-inch vertical. Listen, you're in the last year of your contract next year.
Yes.
What you gonna do? Retirement?
I don't know.
You should do something like different, like
that's what I want to do.
New York Knicks. That wasn't funny.
Talking about trying to protect your mental health. You don't want to do that. You go to the goddamn Knicks.
I got the option of keep playing, but I also I've built myself this foundation where I'm really looking forward to doing some other things, especially in the tech space. I made a lot of investment. I'm investing in about 35 startup companies.
Salute to Rudy.
Right. Salute to Rudy. Rudy had the game plan a long time ago, and I just believed in it. And 30 companies, we've invested a total amount of money. We've surpassed that on just like one of the investments. So they're giving that back to the players with our tech summit every year. In Silicon Valley has just been amazing. They've embraced us, especially what I've learned is if you win a championship, you can parlay that into so many different things. And we've been able to win 3, been able to parlay that into Silicon Valley with the network and different companies.
That's because most of those guys there love our culture, whether it's hip hop, whether it's
they love
basketball.
Our culture. Yeah, they love our culture, and that's something I tell the players too. Like, listen, man, our culture is king. Like that will never go away, and they want to know our culture. So you got to embrace that as well. So as much as we try to be like them, they want to be like us.
You know what's so funny about Rudy, man? I don't even remember how I met Rudy at. He might have reached out to me, and I was like, I don't believe this guy. He's too good to be true. And then I saw him on the front of something with you and Steph.
Forbes.
And I was like.
Was it Forbes or Fortune? One of them.
But I didn't see the actual magazine. He sent it to me. I was like, this is Photoshop.
Oh. That's funny. No, he got a point though. I can see that happening.
Yeah, but he is who he says he is.
Yeah. So we just built this foundation, bridging tech and sports, and you can see they're the two sectors that the last 10 years the growth has outpaced any other sector. Especially with tech, it's leading the S&P, it's leading all the markets, and then sports valuations that are all-time high. Especially with you look at Google, you look at Amazon, cable companies, Disney's, we're the only live content left, and that's a huge space for people who sell ads. And the largest ads are Google, Facebook, and they're all going to be streaming the games live. So, like, those are the things that I've been reading about, learning about, and trying to get myself into the right pockets to where I'll have ownership. So I'm just not a part of something, or I'm not just investing in something, but I have a large ownership stake in it.
Now, I love the dedication in the book. You said to the young fellas, I forgot how you worded it, but you said to the young fellas, but you said it, stay black.
To young fellas, so that's my son.
Okay.
And like I have that conversation a lot of times where I'm always bringing up race, and they be like, Andre, you just throw race at us all the time. We can't take it anymore. Like, I'll be in a weight room and they'll be like, do this. I'll be like, yo, that's why you put so much weight on there. And I'm like, you do realize that black people can do anything. Like, there's nothing a black man can't do.
Yeah.
Like, that's my joke to them. But I'll be serious. And they be like, why you always bringing up race? I'll be like, you know how much stuff we had to lift in slavery? They be like, why you always throw the race in our face? But growing up, every time I left the house, like every day I left the house, I got that same message from my mom. All right, stay black. Every day.
As if we have a choice.
Right. No, she was saying, like, stay black, know who you are, realize it. Like, when you going out to the world, stay black. Like, don't change for nothing. Embrace who you are. So, like, that's how I was raised. So when I be saying, like, I just throw it out there, and they were like, how do you just throw it out there so confidently? You're just, like, brave. Like, how you just throw it you'll throw it at anybody. Like, you haven't met this person, you'll be like, you'll just throw out the race. And I was like, this is how I was raised. And
damn right.
But my son's not, he hasn't been able to grow up in the environment that we had to grow up in. So I had to always remind him, like, look, you go to school. His school is very diverse. Private school, but it's diverse. This is probably as diverse you can get in a private school. But he's one of the few black boys. It's only a couple of, like, 100% black boys. It's like 3 or 4 that I know around his age. And I'm like, man, you got to be able to maneuver when you get pulled over by the cops. You got to be able to maneuver when you at school or no matter where you're at. Like, especially in this neighborhood, like, you got to be careful. I mean, he's light complected, so it's not going to be as bad, but he has to have an awareness. And I always try to get him to, understand that.
Well, we appreciate you for joining us.
Yeah, man.
Pick up the book, 6 Man.
And KD and Clay coming back next year.
Pretty sure.
KD too?
I think KD's coming back.
Yeah.
I hope he does. I mean, we want him to come back.
Prior to the injury, did you think he was leaving or going?
I didn't know. But that's the hard part of it, too, is like every day we had to deal with that. Like the whole year you had to deal with, is KD coming back? It was like, man, I hope so, yeah. Like, what you want me to say? But at the same time, it was like, where there's smoke, there's a fire. So it's like, well, who's putting out these reports? Sometimes they're fake. You don't know what's what. It's the drama of the NBA. So.
I heard they going to the Knicks, though. That's what I heard.
I don't know, man. I personally think y'all going to strike out.
Yeah, I agree with you.
All right, it's Andre Iguodala. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.